bread bowls. So let's kick off the action here. Round 9, Brian Kibler versus Luis Scott Vargas.
All right, and here we go. Luis Scott Vargas playing Spirit Jund against Brian Kibler, piloting a green-white deck, splashing black for Lingering Souls. Luis on the play leads things off with an Overgrown Tomb and an Inquisition of Kozilek. Let's see what he finds here. And Brian kept 5 lands, Loxodon Smiter and Kasali Pridemage. Threw the Kasali Pridemage into the yard. Didn't give Luis the opportunity to make that mistake.
And you can just make that mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have turned into the yard. What if he makes that mistake? I don't. To be fair, I don't think Luis is going to make that mistake.
Yeah, I don't either. So turn 2 is a Deathrite Shaman in a Treetop Village. And there is Noble Hierarch. We've talked about cards that are really hallmark Brian Kibler cards. Noble Hierarch has done yeoman's work for him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that card has won a Pro Tour for Brian.
Yeah.
All right, some Marsh Flats. Kicking it for Luis. Let me grab him a Swamp. Luis still without white or red mana from land. Does have the Deathrite Shaman, however.
Yep.
When he casts Bloodbraid Elf. Brian hoping to shuffle this up in a way that...
Roll up a good one.
Another Deathrite Shaman. And in for 3. Let's see what Brian can find. I see there is a Thalia in hand for Brian. A Loxodon Smiter coming down. He's got to hope that this doesn't need a removal spell. And Luis going to go ahead and crack this Verdant Catacombs, presumably grabbing a Blood Crypt or Stomping Grounds. Either or at this point. Probably going to go with the Stomping Grounds because he has Treetop Village in play, so he wants to be able to activate that with the highest level of consistency possible. Does choose to go the Stomping Grounds. Now he has Deathrite Shaman active to add a mana. And another Bloodbraid Elf.
Look what I have.
And this is just...
and he's really looking for a removal spell here, right?
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Or
but it's a Confidant.
I'll take that.
I mean, just the Bloodbraid Elves have just filled up this board to such an extent that it's going to be really, really hard at this point.
That pulls a path.
Yeah. And you don't want to give Luis extra lands right now either because he has Treetop into play. It's kind of like giving him an extra 3/3. It's 1/3 of a 3/3. And it's just a land they can use to cast spells and activate Deathrite Shamans. So Brian, forced to be on the defensive here. An attack here, it's not something he can really start.
Surprised he kept a 5-land hand with 2-drop, 3-drop in his deck. Feels like...
one of the problems with the green-white decks is it's really hard to, like, if you get a 6-card hand, like, if you get a 2-drop and a 3-drop and the lands to cast it.
But then if you're drawing, like, birds and hierarchs later on, they're a little less exciting. I don't know.
Maybe he can attack with that Smiter. No, choose not to. The Thalia definitely helps out quite a bit. Luis has a bunch of creatures that have 2 toughness. They get 2 power first striker in play. It's pretty good for Brian.
Looking to buy some time until he finds one of his 3 Gavoni townships.
And I believe he actually has one in hand.
He also has a Baneslayer Angel in hand, which is going to go a long way to clawing him back into this game.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Luis does not have an answer to that Baneslayer. And I mean, we know that Luis has cards in his deck that can deal with it. I mean, he has 2 Terminate and... Oh, that's it. He just has 2 Terminate.
So... Wow. So Luis Scott Vargas puts 2 Deathrite Shamans at a Treetop Village in the way of a 5/5 Loxodon Smiter.
Yep, Luis going to gain 2 here.
Rawr.
16. And now Luis is going to need a... Going to need a Terminate.
Or Bloodbraid Elephant to terminate, or
Yeah, that would also do it. But Baneslayer Angel, you know, these 12-point swings are
attack for 6. And there is a Gavoni Township right there.
yeah. So it could be for 7, and
So
then
you can get for 7, yeah. Get for 7, get for 8.
and Luis can gain some life now with this Deathrite Shaman. May go a little bit longer, but yep. So 6, Luis going down to 12. Brian jumping up to 21 here.
Those of you wondering about Mart Yuza, you can see him standing in the background watching. It doesn't sound like his tournament. He's
Doesn't
watching a
seem
feature
like
match
his
area in the
tournament
last
went
round.
too well.
So Raging Ravine rumbles in.
Brian just going to take this 4.
Yeah, he can afford to. He's life rich.
Oh yeah, Baneslayer is the queen of...
He can just nibble the middle around his life total, leave lots of it around the ends on the bone, and throw it over his shoulder.
Just eating the tastiest of that life
Yeah.
bait. Right now, Brian would be at 10 if it weren't for that Baneslayer Angel swing. It's so funny how Baneslayer Angel is like good in this like format, like
It's like, yeah, this format's dominated by Glistener Elves and Deathrite Shamans and Baneslayer Angel.
Here comes Baneslayer. Willie Vleech.
Oh, hi.
Hello. Yeah, seems pretty reasonable.
There we go. I always like the, people like I haven't taken my fingers off it yet.
Are they both attacking? Is one attacking? I like to make bad attacks on Magic Online and then unattack with the guys.
You would.
Brian up to 23 now.
Luis Scott Vargas is on 5. He needs an answer, and he needs it fast.
Looks like he found a Lingering Souls.
So not quite answer. So do a little whittling back.
This is a bluff.
That's not really
You
a
know.
bluff, right? He's just like, yeah. He's in Walt Leaf Lead, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way Brian can block though. It's just impossible. That's a nice thing. That's something that a lot of newer players often miss is you just free points of damage. If your opponent's at a really high life total and the only blocker they have in play is something that, they really is important to their game plan,
Sure.
then they're not going to block.
But you know
and
what?
you can just get some free points in for free.
But you know what? If you're that new player, you don't always have the same respect from your opponent that, say, Brian Kibler has for Luis Scott Vargas. So you can't.
Well, I think a player like Luis Scott Vargas is much more likely to be bluffing you there.
Sure.
Now, this is Brian's matchup of choice, I believe. He likes playing against the Jund deck.
Yeah. The Stirring Wildwood.
Yeah, and in comes the team. Let's see. Bloodbraid Elf and Token go on that.
Common Bond.
Luis makes some blocks. That Lingering Souls cost all 7 of Luis's mana because of Thalia, Guardian of Thraben.
I gained 7. I got 27.
Luis's board
Decimated.
decimated down to ruin.
Oh.
And the Dismember. Make sure that Brian's Wittleaf Leech is going to survive here. Luis falling down to 2. Oh, yeah, 2. They're 3.
5 now. Oh, you went
So Luis now at 3 against the Gavany Township. And
What is Luis going to draw? He's going to let him claw back into this.
Lightning Bolt. A nice beta Lightning Bolt. I appreciate that. Giving something pretty for us to look at. Brian, again, Brian keeps on being in these situations where it looks like there's no way his deck can win, and then something just happens. Baneslayer Angel happened that time.
Yeah, that card's good.
Sometimes they just don't have a way to kill it.
Remember, Rashad, when we were laughing about Baneslayer Angel? Chuckled derisively. But you get a really good look at that card in action. Just pulled that game from the brink.
Yeah, now, post board, Luis has a Maelstrom Pulse that he gets to bring in. Quite good there.
Seems good.
And Olivia, Voldaren.
Yeah, the Olivia is just a real breaker for him. More Dismembers for Kibler. Possibly Rest in Peace. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to shut off those Deathrite Shamans. He's been a big fan of Chalice of the Void. I guess you could just play Relic of Progenitus too. He's got a lot of graveyard hate.
He does. I'd be interested to hear his Jund sideboard plan.
I'm going to Charleston, definitely.
Now these are 2 Titans. These probably two of the most well-decorated players in the room.
Sure. I mean, Brian Kibler, Pro Tour Hall of Fame. Had an impressive career. Left to pursue a career as a game designer. Hall of Fame comes around. He's not quite, he's very famous. People really like him. But when it came to the numbers, when it came to the math,
yeah, he
with
wasn't
Magic
there.
players, he wasn't there. And, kind of crawled a little bit, and he came back, won a PTQ, went to Hawaii. Top aided. Went to Austin, won. He won again in Hawaii just recently. That's 3 top 8s since he's back.
Including 2 wins.
Yeah.
He had never had a Pro Tour top 8, right? Before.
No. He had 2.
He had 2 before that? Oh, okay. I thought he just had a lot of Grand Prix wins.
Yeah. No. I mean, he was very dominant at Grand Prix.
Yeah, he was I remember him as a player who just dominated Grand Prix.
Right.
So.
But and then Luis Scott Vargas has just been, one of the most popular figures. Changed the landscape of the, you know, of what the Magic Internet looked like. You know, at the time it was really kind of like there were, you know, maybe one or two major players. It's like plopped Channel Fireball down, built around his success and popularity. You know, really created the super team, Channel Fireball. You know, he and Brian Kibler have both prospered with.
Yeah, and both these players, a lot of their success comes from working together.
Yeah, eligible for the Hall of Fame this coming year.
And
Luis
almost
Scott
a
Vargas,
lock.
I can't imagine him not being.
He's got my vote.
You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in this room who has a vote, who, you know, if they, for some reason, they wouldn't vote for Luis, they probably, you know, probably aren't entitled to a vote.
Yeah. And that's accurate. If you're not going to vote for Luis, you're probably not somebody who's getting a vote. Brian mulliganing down to 6 here. Didn't like that opening
You're
hand.
right. We were talking about Kibler. We forgot he actually has 4 top 8 since he's come back. We forgot about Amsterdam.
Oh my gosh, he top 8 in Amsterdam too.
Yeah,
you're
with
right.
that insane treehouse
Doran deck. Yeah. The deck that Brad came in second with.
Yeah.
The deck that Brad beat Kai with after being 0-2. Whew. So I was watching that despite it being middle of the night
Sure.
back in the East Coast, and Brad was down 2 games, and
You
I
wanted
fell
to-
asleep while
Oh,
watching it in my seat, and I woke up during game 5. It's the best
Oh, that's
treat
pretty good.
ever.
Okay, so 6 cards. Kibler keeps them. Deathrite Shaman. A ubiquitous modern opening.
Yeah, the format standard.
Ever the iconoclast, Brian Kibler plays Noble Hierarch.
Brian Kibler plays Noble Heart could be the turn 1. Brian Kibler plays Noble Heart could be true for
Yeah.
one of tens of tournaments.
Boo. Turn 2 Liliana the Veil. Out of the Jund deck.
So good. But Liliana the Veil, not something you really want to plus against Brian.
Yep. It is. That card is now dead.
Yet, if he draws another Liliana, it's a dead card because Brian's never going to attack it. Until
With
his
4
hand's
Loxodon
empty.
Smiters, 4 Wilt Leaf Leech, he's like, please, 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 plus your Liliana.
There's nothing he would like to see more than that. Temple Garden, tapped. Relic of Progenitus.
So yeah, we thought maybe he would bring that card in. Make your Termagrife puny.
Yeah. So Luis is just going to gain 2. Tarmogoyf now a 0-1. That relic quite good here.
Yeah, despite being green, that's another interesting thing about Brian's list.
No Tarmogoyf.
No Tarmogoyfs. Seems almost crazy.
He's got Loxodon Smiter. And I mean, the deck's working, obviously.
Yeah, no,
I'm really impressed by it,
I said
actually.
seems crazy. I didn't say it was crazy.
What is that white card he has in hand?
Gets in with a Stern Wildwood. Very clearly says attacking you.
Luis is just going to take 3.
Yep.
This is exactly what we were talking about. I mean, Luis, maybe he sideboarded down to 1 Liliana, but this could get him into some trouble. for 1. 0-1 Tarmogoyf. Sitting there. This tournament so far, every Tarmogoyf we've seen, when it's played on turn 2, it's always a 3-4, or 4-5. Not against Brian. It's Brian's a 0-1. Huh. So a few different options here for Brian. It looks like he has Kasali Primage in hand. Gavany Township comes down.
It's going to be the attack of the Baneslayer bird. He's going to build his bird up.
It's not unreasonable.
Yeah, I think what he's going to... Yep.
Luis is trying not to use this Terminates in his hand. I mean, he'd rather save them for a more permanent type of... Ooh, Lingering Souls. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Luckily for Brian, he gets to
I guess I have no prayer.
relic it away. Yeah, so Luis deciding whether or not he wants to attack with this Bloodbraid Elf. I assume he will. Brian falling to 14 now. You can go ahead and remove that Lingering Souls.
And I think we have Lingering Souls in hand for Brian.
For Brian also?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably holding on to that because Luis had mana untapped for Deathrite Shaman. And, I guess he could have cast it and flashed it back all at once.
Now the Stern Wildwood's just staying back as a potential blocker.
Keeping the 3-2 at bay on the other side of the table.
So, you know, we've been waiting for a deck to come up and, like, be a foil to Jund. Is that what this deck is?
I think so. I mean, this game, you know,
Oh,
Brian
I mean,
Mulligan,
that
it's
perhaps
been,
not the best example, right?
All right, Brian falling down to 12 from that attack, then 11 from the... oh, he was at... Oh, okay. So that makes more sense. Okay, Brian now at 13. It's at 11.
Right. The Stern Wildwood has reached. It's going to eat one of those tokens. And then finish it off with a bolt.
Yeah.
So Luis wanted that sequence of plays to happen.
Very advanced. I mean, the Misty Rainforest had to get cracked in order for Luis to be able to play that bolt.
Oh, right, because he didn't have any extra mana. He needed to actually have a land
in Brian's yard, yeah.
Now he has mana again next turn if he wants it from there.
So they Lingering Souls for Brian. Ooh, and a Baneslayer Angel.
Clearly, Luis is sitting on that Terminate for just the Baneslayer Angel.
Yep. And I think Luis actually, yeah, he's saved that Terminate the whole game. A lot of opportunities to use that Terminate. Luis wisely biding his time. And it looks like that might be another Lingering Souls.
Yeah, I think so. Activates the Liliana.
Yep. And it's quite good.
Wow.
Yeah. Luis playing this game perfectly. A master at work, ladies and gentlemen.
Removes his own land.
Yeah.
Oh, no. No, he doesn't. Okay. Oh, he sacks it to draw a card.
All right. Let's see
It's definitely
what
a
Mr.
lingering
Kibler
souls.
can figure out here. Yeah, lingering souls, and he can flash it back.
And I believe he has a path in hand as well. The question is, can he live through this turn?
Yep, he has some easy tokens. Fellow Hawaiian Pro Tour champion. Liliana.
Yep.
Brian sacrifices this bird, or will he sacrifice one of his spirits? It's his big decision here. Brian's just going to go ahead and sacrifice his spirit. Very reasonable play.
He's pathing the Deathrite Shaman.
Yep. Path to Exiles, Deathrite Shaman. And it looks like he's just been grinded to a halt here.
Trade. So take 5, 6, 7. Go to 2.
Yeah, but then if chumping is pretty rough here. So he's taking 7 and going to 2 here. Does Luis have another spell here? So he goes to 1. The fetch land was cracked, increasing Tarmogoyf's power and toughness by an extra 1, and a Batter Skull comes down.
A special guest appearance by fellow commentator Marshall Sutcliffe, who actually illustrated, who actually custom painted that token that Luis used for his Batter Skull token.
Very nice.
It was a gift from his wife, commissioned by Marshall Sutcliffe, or commissioned of Marshall Sutcliffe.
Block your blood right now. So like, this is what it's
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Take every opportunity to use that token. Obviously.
Like when you're doing border crossings, do you have any ID? Yeah, I have this
here,
token.
let me show you.
Lighter in my hand, good, like, strand
Uh-oh.
right there.
Now Luis knows that Brian has a Horizon Canopy in his deck.
Right, yeah, at that point in the game.
That game was very interesting. Luis played very well there. I mean,
Shocking.
Luis always plays really well, but that was scary.
It was
good.
fun to watch.
It was an exciting match.
We had the relic for like, a while too, so relic was very good.
Just going into this game, I think Luis
Felt like
sitting
Brian
on
was
that
always like
Terminate forever
And
was.
Brian was sitting on that Lingering Souls forever as well, and it
Yeah.
felt like he was just
I think I got the lingering souls
trying to get his feet under him so he could get the lingering souls and then be able to.
Yeah, maybe if Brian didn't know that Luis was sitting on what he was sitting on.
Sure. Or maybe what he was trying to do is actually, in case he's trying to get some value, he didn't have any of his big cards for if the Liliana was set to discard, but maybe he wanted to be able to
Discard
the
lingering souls
for value. I'm not sure. Maybe it was just a path to exile, and then he drew the lingering souls later.
Yeah. Maybe we were just wrong the whole time. That actually seems significantly more plausible to me. He had Township, right?
He did.
And he knows
but he
that Luis
kept
only
playing
has
things. It's not like he wasn't playing other things, right?
It's true. Gavany Township's so good. Making a big impact in Modern now, too.
Terminate, jerk.
This card I'm not really surprised about. Every time I've had a chance to use that card, I've always been really, really impressed.
No.
So, let's see what kind of game we have between these guys this round, or this game. I think that Brian's deck definitely looks like it's favored. That game he mulliganed. I think it's also really important. There's some interesting things going on. For example, like Brian has 2 Baneslayer Angels, and Luis has 2 Terminates. And
So the only real velocity in either deck is the Dark Confidant for him, Luis, and there's not a ton of removal for Kibler to deal with that Dark Confidant. So I mean that seems like it's a pretty could be a pretty key card.
definitely.
Obviously, always is, but
Yeah, Kibler has Dismember and Path to Exile, but a Path to Exile against a Dark Confidant, it just turns it into a Rampant Growth that makes your opponent discard a card.
that's fine.
It's better than having a Confidant.
Yeah,
play.
better than the Confidant, exactly.
But still, Rampant Growth where your opponent discards a card and has to pay mana. It's pretty good.
But I mean,
It's an unreplicated Giga Drafts that makes them discard a card and gives you a Rampant Growth.
I'm in.
Oh, I won.
Brian again going down to 6 cards. Let's see if we can get a more reasonable hand this time around. And considering what he kept in game 1, his range is pretty big against this deck.
Yeah.
His hand must have been pretty bad.
I actually lost a game where I had turn 2 Mind Sensor, turn 3 Linvala. Because I just like floated out and he eventually just played Kiki Jiki and conscripted my Linvala.
What? Oh, he's telling the Linvala story.
All right, so Luis cracking this Marsh Flats. If he has a Bolt, he may just go grab Blood Crypt and then bolt the Hierarch.
So apparently, is he telling it on air? Can you hear it? Oh, then I'll just be quiet. I'll let him tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, the Blood Crypt coming into play on tap. Brian immediately knows that Lightning Bolt is going to come from the other end. Birds of Paradise now for Brian. So it looks like he still has a Thalia on hand and a Noble Hierarch. That's it. Ooh, a Grim Lavamancer from Luis. Now, Brian's really going to need some type of spot removal spell, otherwise that can take things over. Brian's hand's really susceptible to Lavamancer.
Does he have a Linvala?
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to start getting Lavamanced. Tarmogoyf, Lavamancer, not a particular combo.
Unlikely allies.
Yes.
Can these two creatures live together without driving each other crazy?
Dogs and cats living together.
Oh. Oh, hi.
Ooh, that's interesting. Comes Pride Mage.
So that's a little bit of brinksmanship, right? You're going to use your Grim Lava Mans? Oh, he's not even brinksmanshipping. He's like, I'm just activating.
So actually has to put a token onto that bird, yeah. It's not a mistrigger because he resolved part of the trigger. Or resolved part of the activated ability. I had that ruling come up. Right, Marsh Flats for Luis. Gonna fall down to 12 here. And it looks like Luis is planning on casting a Bloodbraid Elf this turn. Oh no, it's Terminate. This
And he's got now he's able to kill the bird too. Just dismantling.
Just picking apart Brian's board.
I'd hate to see this deck's bad matchups.
To be fair, there aren't many cards in Brian's deck that die to the Lavamancer, and he happened to have a hand of only those cards. And Luis is only playing one Lavamancer.
You know, 'cause Mize.
Yeah, because sweet. All right. For a few more damage. Oof. Pair of Deathrite Shamans.
And a Raging Ravine, which is going to do some hard work.
Yeah, Raging Ravine. It's a hard-working gent. Brian with just so few options here. Plays out its entire hand, takes the 2. Luis with another piece of spot removal in hand now.
Which can get gruesome, you know, if Brian decides to just activate his township. Then he gets spot removal, one of your guys, and activate my Lavamancer and kill your other guy before the township resolves.
Luis instead choosing to just activate the ravine. Send into the red zone. It's a pretty safe attack. Yeah. Ravine becoming a 4/4.
It is a window for... Not much of a window.
Yeah, not much of a window.
Can you dice again? I think I diced my pocket actually.
Yep, so taking 6, falling to 7 here. Brian wants a Baneslayer Angel off the top of his deck. Oh, but there's a Maelstrom Pulse in Luis's hand, so.
Yep, gets those guys out of Lavamancer range.
While he can. A wise decision. And suddenly a pair of 2/3s for Brian. These have been some very interesting and interactive games. Probably the most interactive games we've watched all day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love the sequence in game 2, which was the attack with my tokens, get you to sacrifice your fetch land.
Yeah.
Be able to now bolt your Wildwood. So a path.
And so the Raging Ravine met by a path exile. It's dangerous for Brian, though, because he's at 7. And Luis has 3 Death Ray Shamans in play. So, I mean, he can just whittle his opponent's life away with those.
But, you know, Luis is at 12.
He also slow rolled the Maelstrom Pulse, though, so took away Brian's out in form of, ooh, okay. A bird.
Interesting. Activating the Raging Ravine again. The new Raging Ravine.
The new Raging Ravine. Raging Ravine. Manlands are so strong. It's a shame they're not around right now.
Yep.
And
Get
that's
both birds. I was like, ooh, that's good.
yeah, that's so much better. And Luis knows that there are two
The Lava Mancer
instants.
attacking also?
Yeah, there are 2 instants and or sorceries in the graveyard. So by attacking with everybody, if Brian doesn't draw a spot removal spell next turn, then Luis just wins. And if Brian does draw a spot removal spell next turn, then he has 2 cards in graveyard. So, yep. So no matter what Brian draws here, he's dead next turn. Yeah. Very well played by Luis.
Yeah.
Very calculated. Very well played by Brian also. I mean,
So Luis Scott Vargas wins 2 games to 1. He goes to 8-1 at the end of day 1. Brian Kibler through to day 2 at
Yep.
7-2. His green-white